Story 1, Blood and Needles. I watch the nurses take blood and see the needle go in. It doesn't bother me at all. Story 2, Surgeries and any kind of medical procedure. I have been through many challenges as a lifelong complicated patient. Nothing scares me anymore. Story 3. I can die at any moment due to a silent heart condition that has no symptoms or signs. It only takes one attack and you are gone to the other side. Story 4. Nightmares and sleep paralysis. It is pretty bad and constant, but I do not really think about it too much when I am going to sleep. People always ask me how I go to sleep knowing how bad it is going to be and why I am not afraid. I guess I have to sleep regardless, so there is no point in obsessing over it. In the end, maybe I just dissociate from it or have accepted it. Story 5. I am happiest asking a 1,500-pound anatomically strange flight animal to carry me around, knowing that it could see its own shadow and lose its mind, dump me in the dirt, and crush my skull under its hooves. I ride horses. Story 6. Sharks. I love sharks. I enjoy seeing them when I am in the ocean, especially while scuba diving. They always keep their distance, and I have never had a problem. Now, jellyfish, on the other hand. Story 7. I will calmly watch a spider crawl across me, but I will die if I am in a small space where I cannot move my limbs, even if it is just for 2 minutes. Story 8. Roaches. Working in building maintenance for so long, they seem like just another pest to me. I just bat them aside with a bare hand and keep working. Friends who have seen this freak out about it. Spiders. Same idea. I had one walking across my face a few days ago. I just reached up and flicked it off with a finger. My coworker looked at me and said, "You're the most cold-blooded person I've ever known." I replied, "Ha! Wait until a mouse goes up my pant leg." That happened once and I was much less calm about it. Story 9. We have a mother black bear with triplets on our property from time to time. She is pretty calm as long as you obviously just leave them alone. We do not feel the need to scare them away and still like to go for walks through the woods. I assume most people would not be comfortable with that, though. Story 10. Plane crashes. The odds are you probably will not die in one. It freaks everyone out when I say, "Hopefully it does not crash," at the airport bar. Story 11. Watching people die. I have been involved in many patient arrests in the hospital. I remain calm while trying to resuscitate them. Story 12. Heights. Rappelling off buildings. Swinging around on a rope just enjoying my audiobook. Cleaning some dirty windows and checking out the view. Sometimes talk some nonsense to the birds. Maybe take a smoke break at 300 feet. Watch people scurry around like busy little ants never looking up. Story 13. Going off very big jumps on a snowboard. I devoted a lot of my college years to the craft of snowboarding, and it paid off in zeros. Story 14. Generative artificial intelligence signaling the end of the world. People act like being able to make deepfakes easily will mean that everything fake will be believed because it is so realistic. Actually, I think the opposite is true. We will just head to a world where nothing is believed. Got photographic or video proof of something. It does not mean anything. Fake news. Sound familiar? It is the world we already live in, where you just deny everything despite evidence because you do not like it. So nothing changes. Story 15. I had an appointment 3 hours from home last Saturday. Of course, my mother was thoroughly convinced that I would end up getting kidnapped and trafficked. I told her, "Of course, I understand how horrible that situation would be, but I just don't think about it and never worry about it. Maybe I should worry about it. I do not know." Story 16. Not terrifying to everyone, but bees. It is common in the spring and summer to find honeybees laying or crawling on the ground, either dying, sick, or unable to fly if they are not already dead. People tend to freak out when I scoop them up and move them to a nice patch of grass or a flower. If they are dead, I find a little spot in the dirt to bury them. It feels nice to try to do something for them after all they do for us. Story 17. Any movies relating to witches, zombies, werewolves, and vampires, except for Sinners of course, don't scare me at all. I just see them as kid Halloween decorations, and they don't frighten me because they all seem too fake. I love scary movies, but those types just don't do it for me. Story 18. Blood. A lot of people freak out, but I have had gushing nosebleeds since I was a baby, so I am completely comfortable seeing it in any capacity. Story 19, dying. Most people fear it, but I have always, in a way, been fascinated by it. I am not focused on dying young or suicide or anything like that. I just do not fear it. I want my questions answered, and I wholeheartedly believe they will be. Story 20. Snakes. I know the majority of the ones I will ever come in contact with are harmless. I actually think snakes are cute. Their little tongues are adorable. Story 21. Snakes, I think they are fascinating and have been ever since I was a kid. Most people I know find them terrifying, and while I probably would not want to come across one in the wild, especially here in Australia, I have certainly never been scared of them. Story 22. Any type of emergency. I have a built-in leader mode that is a natural undercurrent and becomes a main channel in any situation where others are losing control or shutting down when they need to be acting. I see the lines, assess which is best, and immediately start issuing commands to get people moving. I surprised myself when I first found myself in a situation where this trait was revealed. Story 23. Story time. I grew up in an abusive household, and as a result, I'm scared of pretty much everything an abused child learns to fear. Saying no, making noise at night, accidentally spilling things, saying the wrong thing, and so on. That mindset trained my brain to look for potential danger and disaster in every situation, including mundane things like grocery shopping, driving, riding a bike, petting a dog, talking to people, going for a walk, and visiting new places. I have had to fight being afraid literally all the time my whole life. One of my biggest, most anxiety-inducing fears is going to unfamiliar places. It's the fear of the unknown, and it's held me back from doing many fun things. It's something I've been working on overcoming. Last Friday, I went to a music festival in a part of town that I'm totally unfamiliar with someone I had known for less than 5 minutes. She's a friend of a friend, and we were meeting up with that friend later. Not only that, during the first concert, I went to the beer tent by myself without any real concerns about finding them again in a crowd of about 20,000 people. Therapy is a powerful thing. I only wish I had gone sooner. So much of my life was wasted being scared. Story 24. I have historically been difficult to scare. Family, friends, roommates, and even strangers have all tried to frighten me in elaborate ways, but my reaction is usually calm or indifferent. I do not know why. Perhaps my subconscious is resigned to whatever fate has in store for me. Story 25. Being a cluster of bioelectrical signals that pilot a meat machine, collectively deciding it was sentient, hurtling on top of a giant wet space rock that is not really giant at all in the grand scheme of things, for an infinitesimally brief moment in space-time, amidst a billion things we do not understand or hope to comprehend, a million things that can wipe our entire existence out faster than our signal can travel from one cell to another. Yeah, pretty chill about it all. Just keep waking up day after day. Story 26. Needles, for example, for vaccinations. I am the perfect blood donor because I do not mind that there is a needle in my vein. Story 27. Death is a natural part of life, and we cannot avoid it, so there is no use in worrying about it. Story 28. Death. I am an emergency department and palliative care physician. The thought of dying does not bother me at all. Story 29. I am probably going to spend the rest of my life single and alone, even though I really do not want to. When I watch the news and see what is happening, I feel that I might be harmed by the government very soon, one way or another. I wonder why the end of my life should be any different from everything that came before. Story 30. Ghosts. I used to work at a haunted location. I have had many experiences that led me to acknowledge that ghosts are real, and I see them as just people in a different form. Story 31. I triple-check every window and door before bed, because the idea of my cat getting out at night terrifies me. But a serial killer or a ghost, whatever, I will deal with it. Story 32. I don't know if it is terrifying, but I am not scared to get hit or hurt. Doing kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and mixed martial arts really takes that fear out of you. Also, I like spiders. Story 33. Not exactly terrifying, but job interviews. I enjoy people asking me questions because I am a listener and do not open up to people a lot. Story 34. I'm completely fine with watching horror movies, but a real-life cockroach crawling on me would definitely drive me insane. Story 35. Spiders. Claustrophobic spaces. My magnetic resonance imaging technician was shocked that I was so calm during all the imaging they performed. Blood, little or a lot? My biggest reaction is, that is a lot of blood. Story 36. After racing sailboats for a long time, I am very calm about vehicles being very close together while in motion. We had only a few inches between us. I do not see why everyone is freaking out. Story 37. Just dying in general. The idea of it did terrify me in the past. I think over the last 10 years or so, I have seen enough human behavior and experienced enough personal growth to accept the fact that one day, any second, I will finally be free of this complete madhouse. I mean, collectively speaking, we really messed up. Story 38. Death. I really do not care about dying. When I am gone, I will not notice. I do not care if my dead body is buried, burned, donated to science, or eaten by worms. It is just decomposing flesh. Story 39. Ghosts roam my house. I can see and feel spirits, and I can also occasionally hear them. However, it is not all fun and games when you live in a town that is hundreds of years old. Story 40. I have never felt in danger walking around by myself, even at night, as a woman. I have never been harassed beyond homeless men saying, "Have any change, babe?" I do not know if it is because I am unattractive, if I carry myself in a no-nonsense way, or if I am just unaware. I really enjoy solo travel and going to concerts alone. It makes me sad that many women feel they cannot do the same. Story 41. More of a gross thing, but puke. Many people around me gag or throw up when they see it or smell it. Yes, it is gross and unpleasant, but it does not affect me at all, same with blood. Snakes are also cute. Story 42. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation and calling emergency services. If you mean I have a harder time socializing than telling a stranger over the phone, come here. Someone is dying. Story 43. Tsunamis, apparently. I live about 50 feet from the ocean. That and my arteriovenous malformation may or may not be related. Story 44. Having dissociative identity disorder. I was diagnosed long before TikTok existed. My system and I are a team, not like WWE's Hell in a Cell, unlike what everybody expects with dissociative identity disorder. We're also 40, not 14. Most, if not all, of our friends can recognize when we're pretending to be one another or pretending to be a single individual. Many of our friends actually respect us as an us and call us by whatever name the person currently fronting usually uses, rather than just calling us all by the same name. Completely unprompted, we get genuine "Who are you today?" questions. We don't even ask them to. The respect also extends to those in our life who know we have it. I don't go screeching around demanding recognition or destruction of reviews like a bratty tyrant. Kind of just happens. And that's the way I love it. No drama and no hysterics. Although I would say it partially has to do with the fact that in our culture, dissociative identity disorder is seen as something to accept about someone and even laugh about, instead of the symptom of someone being a serial killer or an immature attention seeker. It's normalized. Even our therapists didn't focus on fixing the dissociative identity disorder, but on our collective trauma history. But I have had other people react to this with shock. Story 45. The fact that I could sneeze while driving and wipe out a family of 4 and I still speed a little. Story 46. There is absolutely no meaning outside of our minds. No destiny, no plans, nothing. This is actually a very liberating realization because it means we are free to shape reality itself for better or worse. Story 47. Running a code blue as a physician is challenging. Nervousness can lead to mistakes, but carefully following each step in the process helps me stay calm and perform better. Story 48. The Hat Man and other hallucinations. I have been seeing, hearing, and feeling things that are not real since I was 6 years old. People get disturbed when I talk about them or describe my experiences, but it is old news, just a fact of life. What is scary is when I start to forget that they are not real. That is a sign that the actual issues are coming. Story 49. Dying, I just hope I have enough friends left when I go so they enjoy the playlist I made for my wake. Story 50. Claustrophobia. I can be in confined spaces like an elevator with no problem. At worst, I may feel uncomfortable if I do not have enough space to stretch, but I do not experience panic or sweating. Story 51. Death used to be terrifying, but now it is just indifferent. I do not even care if it is a void anymore. It is simply something that exists. Story 52. Seeing things at the corner of my eye or hearing things at night are normal to me. To be honest, I live in a haunted house. Story 53. The ocean. I understand why people are afraid of it, but I just love it. I love being on it, around it, and I have no problem swimming in it. Space, though, is vast, empty, and unfathomable. Story 54. Surgery. Honestly, I find the whole experience of being surrounded and cared for by professionals peaceful. It is the recovery that is challenging. Story 55. Everything. Fear is the mind killer. Here is a photo of a bear. Cannot share it. My friends always say I will die first in a horror film. They are right, but it is good for the village when a brave person is around. Story 56. Natural gas and electricity. Both are more dangerous than people think, but I can stand next to an electrical fire and have too many times, and in the middle of an open gas pipe and remain calm. Mainly because panicking does absolutely nothing. Last time a transformer blew, I closed the cabinet doors, walked to the fire extinguisher station, opened the doors again, and extinguished the fire while the non-maintenance workers fled and screamed. A digger punctured one of our gas mains, and it was leaking natural gas into the hole. We stood nearby joking while closing off the area. There was no shutoff valve, and a colleague was bringing shutoff balloons and considering setting it on fire. When it's on fire, you at least know it's not accumulating in some hole somewhere. Firefighters were scrambling around and kept showing me that it was above 50% lower explosion limit. I said, yes, that's the gas main. It would be very strange if it wasn't. Also, they were showing me a measuring device that stops at 50%. What use is that to me? To be fair, it's not their main job and they were just following their training, so I am not blaming them. Story 57. Dead bodies. An undergraduate degree spent with cadavers and a medical degree spent watching autopsies in death will desensitize you greatly. Edit. I am scared of fingernails. Story 58. I concluded I should only be scared of either a tiger or a shark that is in front of me. Other than that, I just go through life without worry. Story 59. Crime around me. I lived in Atlanta in the late 1990s for about 8 years. I have seen all kinds of crazy things. It does not bother me anymore. Story 60. Death because I am not going to fear something that I have desired for a large portion of my life and consider a part of life itself. Story 61. The world ending, as people usually say, would be a scary scenario, but I just think, well, at least I am not going to be the only one. Story 62. Strangers. I have met many unusual people riding public transit all my life, like those who pace around and talk to themselves, as well as the occasional hitchhiker, hobos, tweakers, and others. I am not scared. I always trust my intuition, which has warned me when I need to leave a situation. Now I have a child, so I am much less willing to go out of my way to talk to strangers like that. However, I do have many great stories. Story 63. Dental work. I typically ask for a mirror so I can watch what they do to me. Root canal was pretty interesting. I am also a dental technician, so it is not surprising that I am interested in it. Also, talking to women. Story 64. Blood. Lots of it. I used to work as a veterinary technician, and now nothing phases me. I can eat spaghetti and meatballs while watching the goriest horror movie you can find. Story 65. Death. I am not afraid of dying. The concept of not knowing what happens after we die motivates me to live my life to the fullest now and enjoy it with the people I love. Story 66. Death or confrontation. Where I live, there is a lot of crime and violence. I am not a violent person, but if I need to be, I definitely am. I do not like to start problems, but if somebody has an issue with me or wants to fight, I am ready. Story 67. Death. I am going to die in less than 3 years due to health issues, and I have had a difficult life overall. So the idea of death is not that terrifying to me, considering I have welcomed it with open arms for years now. Story 68. Serial killers. Not in a creepy way. I am just really interested in psychology, sociology, behavioral analysis, and psychological pathologies. Studying serial killers is one of my special interests. I find them fascinating from a distance, of course. Story 69. Making big life changes. Most people are afraid to move, quit their job, go somewhere, and see something new. I am not. If you sit still, you will miss out on many opportunities. It can seem scary at first, but after a while, you end up seeking change and craving the reward it can bring. Story 70. Dying. When it is my time, it is my time. I am not rushing to it, not anymore. But the promise of sleep does not scare me. Story 71. The wilderness and large predators inhabit these areas. I live in a remote location and often hike and fish alone in the backcountry. I feel more at peace 20 miles from town than I ever have in a big city. I was born, raised, and lived in Miami until I was 19. I now reside 10 miles from a town with a population of 800. Story 72. Almost all medical procedures. Rats. I understand that they can harm the surroundings, but they are cute. And snakes. I do not know if these are terrifying, but probably to some. Story 73. Blood and guts. Emergency medical technician for almost 20 years. None of that bothers me. Funny, in an odd way, when something happens medically in my non-medical field, I just stroll over and take over while people are running around. But if a wasp flies around me, I am the one running. I really dislike those yellow jacket wasps. Story 74. Blood, dead bodies, and dead animals, as well as horrid smells, are gross, but I do not overly care. Story 75. Being stranded. I used to travel frequently for work, and many times I had canceled flights hundreds of miles away from home. Last year, I was stuck in Punta Cana because of a hurricane. It was the first time I was stranded in another country. American Airlines originally had no other flights to put me on, so for about 3 hours, I was in limbo just waiting. I have seen people have complete mental breakdowns over this in the past. Story 76. Flying cockroaches, apparently. I never understood why some people are so freaked out by them. Just smack them out of the air and step on them. In small numbers, they are some of the most harmless bugs. The only reason I kill them aggressively is to prevent infestations from starting. The same goes for wasps. If it is just a single insect, a palm smack on the head drops it to the ground, and you can step on it. Easy. Panicking does not solve anything. Stay calm, deal with it, or leave the area. Simple. Story 77. Grain elevators. At any moment, the place could literally blow up, or a bin could rupture and engulf me in hundreds of thousands of bushels of grain. Story 78. Death is inevitable. The sooner we accept it, the better. Maintaining a healthy lifestyle to increase the chances of living to old age is beneficial. Story 79. Wasps. I dislike wasps, but they seem less aggressive toward me than others. I have destroyed 4 or 5 nests around my property over the past few years without any protective equipment and have not been stung. I go in with a can of insecticide in one hand and the necessary tool in the other, spray the nest, knock it down, pour some gasoline, and light it. I also dug up one underground nest after finding it with the lawnmower. I do not know if I have just been lucky in finding them at a time when they are fat and contented, but they seemed more confused than angry every time. Story 80. Death. After years of existential crisis, I have put it to rest. It will be what it will be, when it will be, how it will be. Story 81. When I lived in the countryside, I would pick up mice I found in the house, carry them outside, and set them off on their way. Story 82. Horror films. Any subgenre. Anytime. I've seen it. It was just like 2016 all over again. I believe clowns are not scary, despite Pennywise being an alien and not a human. Then there is Saw, which is just an escape room with a high chance of death, etc. Story 83. Waking up during my catheter ablation procedure for my heart due to Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. I actually thought it was funny and quite interesting. I could hear the doctors talking and feel them starting and stopping my heart. The anesthesiologist became alarmed when my head popped up. Obviously, I was strapped down, but I kind of forgot where I was. Story 84. I could send you a private message if you want. I hate the negative feedback here on Reddit. I want to write a book because I have had so many experiences. Story 85. Power tools? You are saying strange things, so yes, this chainsaw, stone cutter, and drill hammer could cause a terrible death if I do not hold them properly. However, I am licensed. Story 86. Things that most people get hysterical over don't faze me. Panic is a useless form of weakness. There is nothing positive that comes from it. Panic is a natural way of thinning the herd like common sense. Car accidents, building or house fires, severe injuries such as broken bones and deep lacerations. Keeping a cool head is the most important thing in any difficult situation. Being eaten by sharks. After seeing a 16-foot great white up close next to the boat, I don't swim in the ocean anymore. Being paralyzed is my other big fear, being trapped like that. Death is nothing once you have faced it a few times. Story 87. Driving, especially motorcycles on public roads, involves a tremendous amount of risk due to the average driver's lack of attention and complacency. However, when I am on my motorcycle, the whole world becomes calm and focused. Story 88. I work in emergency medical services. I get excited when I receive a serious call instead of just another. I have had back pain for 3 weeks and did not go to the doctor, but now I took painkillers. Story 89. Dying, the Grim Reaper and I engage regularly. People fear death. I have always been indifferent to it. Story 90. I grew up in an unstable home with a severely mentally ill mother and a very narcissistic father. I have also traveled extensively. Nothing really phases me anymore. Story 91. Artificial intelligence is going to displace many people, but I know enough about how to stay relevant that I will probably be okay. Story 92. Climate change is a serious and real issue caused by human activity. However, I no longer feel concerned because I have lost faith in humanity, especially after the 2016 and 2024 election of Donald Trump. Story 93. Everyone is concerned about the current state of the United States, but things will be completely fine. Story 94. Death. I do not want to die, but there is no point in being scared of something that will happen to everyone regardless. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.